Hey Garage Fabbers! I am waiting on some parts to work on the Mitsubishi Mighty Max, so I've actually got no work to do right now. If you're wondering why I'm in regular clothes rather than my usual fabrication clothes, that's why. I got nothing to do. But something that I've seen a few times from other fabrication YouTubers that I really enjoy is their shop tours. And I never thought Garage Fab was special enough to do a shop tour. Who the hell cares? But since I like them so much, I figured, why not make them? And since I don't have any work to do right now, there is no better time than right now. Here's the thing. I was going to clean up the garage before doing the shop tour because it is an absolute wreck and it's really embarrassing, to be honest. But then I realized my garage is always a wreck. Always. And it is this garage that I create all the awesome things that I create. And if I clean up the garage for the shop tour video, I'm essentially lying because the garage never looks like that. So I actually didn't touch it. It is a total wreck. And so today you get to see what I work in a day-to-day basis. And I'll let you know of some of the projects I have to try to organize it just a little bit better. So without further ado, here we go. This is just a battery charger. I don't have a garage door opener right now. I actually removed the garage door opener to make room for my A-frame hoist that is currently holding the Mitsubishi Mighty Max bed above the frame. This guy barely fits and would not fit with the garage door opener, so I removed it, so I have a manual garage door opener for a while. You're all familiar with the Mighty Max with the 4G63 swap. One side of the shop that you never get to see is this side over here, which is just full of garbage right now. One thing that you probably never see is this is the frame for Project D350 that is on my homemade rotisserie that I made out of engine stands. I never used that rotisserie for its intended purpose, which was to completely do all the work on the frame, getting it ready to install back on the truck. Then I came up with a new plan for the resurrection of Project D350, which we'll talk about later. So this frame is just taking up space right now, but I need it for the project. So I will get rid of it, but not right now. Until then, it sits taking up space on the dark side of the garage. So let's talk a little bit about the tools I use to get stuff done here at Garage Fab, starting with stuff hiding under the Mighty Max. You got the Evolution chop saw. Highly recommend it. That was a game changer. If you don't have one, get one. I'll leave a link in the description. We've got the Harbor Freight Daytona long reach jack. That's a really good jack. A lot of people have been leaving me messages about this guy. This is my foldable plasma table. Everybody wants to know where I get this or how to make it. This one's getting a little old and beat up, and it's going to be time for a refresher, so I will make a video on making a foldable plasma table soon. Let's talk quickly about metal storage. I've got two places. One of them is in the corner of the garage here. This is essentially scrap or anything less than 6 foot length. So full pieces of metal, when I get them, go on my metal rack, which doubles as my workbench, which doubles again as the place to catch everything else that I'm not currently working on, which is wood. There's the drive shaft for my drive shaft video. There's a control arm that I have yet to finish. There's something I should bring up. I am digging myself into a huge hole at Garage Fab because if you didn't know, when I build something on the truck, I only show one side getting done. So when I built control arms, I finished one control arm, the video got uploaded, and then I have to finish the second control arm, and I keep doing that over and over again. I had another video where I did bag mounts on the Mighty Max. I still have not done the bag mount on the other side, and this keeps happening over and over and over again, and I'm getting so backed up that I'm actually gonna have to take a break here in a little while just to catch up on stuff. I did engine mounts recently, but luckily you can't mount an engine with one engine mount. So the engine mounts, I actually got 2 done. Yay me. There's the other control arm that actually finished. Anyways, back to the shop. Currently I'm working on a pair of door panels on a Lexus that I put suicide doors on several years ago. The rear door panels needed to be modified a little bit to allow the latch to pass through. Since the latch used to be on the opposite side, now the striker for the latch actually has to pass through, and my clients upholstery guy apparently couldn't finish the opening for the latch, so I offered some of my metal work, and these are kind of what I'm coming up with, just some metal covers that will get powder coated. There will be a short video on this, not super exciting, just a little bit of metal shaping, a very little bit of metal shaping. I don't even know if you can call this metal shaping. There's a couple bends and mostly just welds and a whole lot of die grinder. So look out for that one. Subscribe if you want to see it. Eris is probably cringing right now because these door panels are fully upholstered. I don't want to know how much he paid to have the inside of his car upholstered, and now they're covered in dust. I promise, brother, they will look brand new when I deliver them. Them being covered in dust is probably not all that professional, but sorry. There we go. Look, so much better. Above the workbench is the Garage Fab board with a lot of the stuff that I use on a regular basis. So just screwdrivers, cutoff wheels, flap discs, my welding helmet, all that kind of stuff. Got a whole bunch of mock-up bushings. Those are super cool to have. Definitely have to have some fire extinguishers surrounded by lots of cans of flammable stuff. Also, don't use this while welding. I got ripped a new one by viewers because I use brake clean to clean the stuff that I'm going to weld. My brake clean doesn't have the stuff in it, or so I think, that is gonna kill me, but I have still stopped using it, so I recommend that you don't use brake cleaner either. Okay, this one really hurts me. I've already shown this, but this is the inside of the Mighty Max. This is the area that all the garbage just collects. It's not garbage. It's all stuff that I need. It's all stuff that I just don't put away, and it just finds its way into the Mighty Max. This is the stuff that I really need to really learn to be putting my toys away after I play with them. If anybody's interested in the production side of Garage Fab, I've got several lights in the garage, and I built this fancy little system for some of my lights that are actually hanging on a track above, so I can move the lights around to wherever I need them to light up the work or me or whatever. Got another light on a stand there. My camera is usually sitting in the corner right there, so you can see the Garage Fab thing in the background. Probably looks like a much bigger place, but this is pretty much all you ever see. This background thing, the Keep Moving Forward sign, the Empire Abrasive sign, which they sent me free. Can't imagine why. Maybe because free advertising. That's cool. I hate blank walls. Here's all the license plates that I've had over the years. This is the newest one right here, V8 donor. We'll talk about that one here pretty soon. Moving on with tools, I've got a fixture table that I fitted with some wheels so that I can actually roll this thing out whenever I need it. But funny thing is I have never used it. Probably once I start TIG welding, I'll use that table more often, but I don't want MIG spatter all over it. So it's kind of just a decoration at the moment. This is my Craftsman drill press, where all the holes get made, fitted with the Hugin Rotocut hole cutters and a Harbor Freight drill press vise. This is a game changer. This is something that you should definitely get. Unfortunately, I can't link you to this either because it's Harbor Freight. We could just go check them out. It's not perfect. It's a little wiggly. When I become more of a professional, I will probably get a better one that's probably a lot more stable and doesn't vibrate around so much, but definitely gets the job done and holds stuff in place while I'm cutting holes in it. Next to the drill press is my Mittler Brothers bead roller. This is actually buried in a bunch of stuff, and I need to move stuff around because this requires a little bit of explanation. So here's the Mighty Max fuel tank we built a while back. I've been getting a lot of requests for updates on the tank. I will give you updates soon. The liner was a total failure, and I gotta figure out how to get it out. I'm not happy about it, so I'm not eager to get back to work on it, but I promise I'll give you an update soon. This is the Mittler Brothers 36-inch bead roller that I built a custom stand for because 36 inches is a lot. 36 inches is like half of my garage. Not really, but I created this stand. Oh, it's gonna make me pull it away from the wall, isn't it? Yeah, that's not gonna work. The whole bead roller is on a pivot so that when I can pull it away from the wall, which I can't right now because I've got too much crap in here, I can actually pull the bead roller up into a more accessible position. I haven't needed to bead roll anything for a while though, so it's kind of just pushed off into the distance. One thing about the Mittler Brothers bead roller though, I bought this bead roller when I was working on an old Chevy C10 building a custom bed floor, which I wanted to do all in 16 gauge sheet metal so it would be super heavy duty, and I needed to bead roll semi-factory bed ribs in it, and this bead roller wouldn't do it. It said that it was capable of 16 gauge sheet metal. It just seemed to be too floppy. I was probably doing something wrong, but I couldn't get the work done. So what I ended up doing was completely plating the other side with a 1/4 inch plate and trying to beef up the throat a little bit just to get it to flex just a little less and actually get me through the project. And it worked great. So I'll probably get some hate mail for that one just because I'm using the tool wrong or something, but I kind of glossed over this guy real quick when I was talking about the garage door opener being removed. This is huge. Literally, it's huge. It takes up the majority of my garage, but it was a huge game changer since I am the only one that works in this garage and I occasionally need to remove bodies and beds. I decided to create this thing. This thing, I don't mean to pat myself on the back too much, is the most incredible thing in the world. It is essentially just an A-frame hoist with a chain hoist in the middle that slides left to right if needed. That is on wheels. This allows me to lift things like beds or bodies and then roll it off of the chassis all by myself. I have been upgrading it a little bit here and there, adding little bits to make it better and better, and this is what I've come up with so far. It used to be one height until I added some Harbor Freight hydraulic rams that turn it into an adjustable height hoist. This allows me to lift it really high when it's outside, but also allows me to lower it down enough so that I can squeak it out past the garage door with something loaded on it. That has been a huge deal. Originally, it was made just high enough so that it would fit in and out of the garage door, but then it wasn't high enough for some other things. So adding the hydraulic rams gave me probably 2 extra feet of height. That's optional. That was a huge deal. And then the wheels are really cool. Are you ready? These wheels are just some airless Harbor Freight hand truck wheels and tires, I think. But I put these on some pivots so they can turn. If I turn all the wheels, I can move the hoist left and right. I can move it forward and back, or I can set the wheels at kind of a 45-degree angle. It will allow the entire hoist to pivot 360 on a dime. Mostly what I've used it for is just moving the hoist or a bed or a truck body out into the driveway and then turning the wheels sideways so that it doesn't roll down the driveway into the street with a bed or a body on it, because that would suck. I will create a video on making one of these because, again, this is something that I am more proud of than any other tool in the shop. And I've seen a few people that really need one. Clint from Clint Street Machines. I recently saw him taking apart an S10. You, sir, can use one of these. We're getting too old for this crap, man. We can't be lifting truck bodies on and off by ourselves. You need help. And this guy won't ever say that you owe him a favor or some of that other stuff. So make one of these, Clint. Make one. And if you need me to make a video on it, I'll get on that pretty soon. By the way, go check out Clint's videos, Clint Street Machines. I'll put a link in the description because I don't think I can put it up here, but I'll try. He's just a fun guy. I really enjoy his videos. I think his channel will go pretty far. I walked right past the welder. This is my ESAB 252i fabricator. This is a 3-in-1 machine. I actually purchased that because I wanted to learn how to TIG, and it does TIG welding. But what I just recently learned was that aluminum takes a very specific type of TIG welding, which is alternating current or AC current welding. This only does DC welding, so this will TIG weld steel, but I like to MIG steel. I'm impatient. I don't want to spend the extra time to TIG weld steel unless I absolutely have to. Like with chromoly in the future, I will likely be TIG welding the steel with this machine, but I bought it for aluminum and it can't do aluminum. So beware. If you want to learn how to TIG weld aluminum, make sure your machine does AC. The welder is on top of a fancy cart that I made that you can probably barely see because I've got so much other junk in here, that holds both a full argon tank, still full because I've never used it, and my 75-25 argon CO2 mix for steel. Never use the argon because I learned that it doesn't weld aluminum. Yay. Below the welder is my Hypertherm PowerMax 45 XP plasma cutter. I know I keep saying it, but it was a game changer too. Not having to spend hours cutting steel plate with a cutoff wheel totally changed things, especially when I was doing custom work professionally, because time is money in a business like that. So huge deal. But even now that I'm doing it just as a hobby for YouTube, it still speeds things up. Pretty expensive, but it's one of those things that it's worth every penny. Save up for it. Buy a plasma cutter. You will not regret it. I highly recommend getting the best one that you can buy though, so that it's the last one you ever have to buy. So far, the Hypertherm has been so good. Speaking of creations that I'm super proud of, this one is towards the top and it's unfinished, so I won't be making a video on this for quite some time, but I'll show you anyways in case you want to just figure it out yourself. In my cement floor in the garage is a steel plate with a plug. And if you remove that plug, what you have is a square hole. That square hole is the same size as your typical trailer hitch. Why is there a metal plate welded into the floor with a square hole? It's because the garage is small and I have a lot of large tools that I can't have full-size stands taking up a whole lot of ground space. Similar to the bead roller. This takes up a lot of space and I'm not always using it. So the folding mechanism is great, but it's still taking up probably a 4-foot section, and it's just a real hassle. So I've got a lot of tools that are really important that I can't get rid of, but I can't have them sitting around the garage taking up space. So I put a hole in the floor. I'll show you a couple of tools that I actually have done. You want to see it in action? Here we go. Did anybody see the shrinker stretcher video? This is one of the things that I don't want on a stand on the outskirts of the garage. It just takes up way too much room. But the plan is to build a rack that holds several stands just like this up against the wall, all really close together. I won't be able to use them on that rack because they will be so close together, but they will be stored out of the way, taking up the least amount of room possible. I've got a few tools already made with stands, and I've got lots of other tools that I just need to weld pipes on to get them to a stage like this. The tools that I have already connected to stands are my Harbor Freight tubing roller. That's another huge tool that needs to be stored out of the way. And my JD squared tubing bender, which is also on a stand, is actually at my brother's garage right now, thank goodness, because the thing is huge. I actually convinced him to put a square hole in his garage floor so that we could trade tools back and forth without having to move a giant stand for each one of them. A lot of the tools that I have yet to build stands for is my generic Eastwood Beverly shear. That's gonna go on a stand. My Harbor Freight arbor press, as well as a bench grinder. I'm gonna put that on a stand as well so the stuff doesn't take up room on my workbench. And I think I've got a few more things, but I cannot think of them right now, probably because this garage is in such disarray. When I get a little bit more into metal shaping, I'll likely have a beanbag pedestal that will go in that stand, as well as an anvil, but I don't even have those things yet. So that'll come in the future. But again, I'm gonna make a full-on video just on that system once I get to the point where I can start making that storage rack for all the tools. And that's gonna happen as soon as I get the old Project D350 frame out of here, because that's the wall that all the tools are gonna get stored on. So that frame's gotta get out before I can do any of that. Here's a quick glance of what's in my toolbox, which is not a very big toolbox. My tool collection is actually growing quite a bit because there's a business I want to start in the near future. We'll certainly be talking about that when it happens, but I am collecting a lot of tools right now, and I'm quickly running out of room in this tiny snap-on toolbox and this even tinier Craftsman toolbox. Right now, I've just got a lot of junk in this stuff, so I'm not even gonna show you, but I've got a bodyworking drawer. I've got this little section with a lot of my electrical tools just thrown in there. We've got the Ket shears, for sheet metal, which is great. My new jigsaw, grinders, circular saw. This is a new one. I have been avoiding this tool forever, and this is great. I'll call it a jiggler saw. I think it's actually like an oscillating saw. It just seemed like the weirdest thing, but I have been using this for so much stuff. This is just a Bauer Harbor Freight jiggler saw. Check those out if you haven't used one already. Super handy. Moving on to my crammed drawers. We got the plier drawer, the screwdriver and screwdriver related drawers, wrenches. This is my socket drawer, definitely one of the more organized drawers. Since I'm a Toyota mechanic by trade, I just work a lot better when all my sockets and extensions and stuff are organized a little bit better. So that is why this is one of the only drawers that's fully organized. This is an electrical drawer. Definitely need to go through that. That's getting way out of hand. I almost can't even close it anymore. This is a miscellaneous drawer. You've got some dimple dies in this one. These are super cool. These are from Swag Off-Road. Kind of a hefty price tag on this one. This is a master set. But these are super cool. These make a lot of your work look super professional. I think Puddin from Puddin's Fab Shop calls them speed holes. Let me know if you want to see a video on those. I think there's lots of videos on those anyways, though. Aside from me doing them on a project in the future, you probably won't see that video from me. And then lastly, I've got kind of a junk drawer of old grinders and stuff that don't either make a lot of noise. What is that? Doesn't work. Maybe needs bushings. I got some tubing benders. This is all just stuff that I don't use quite as much. For example, these. Still hate those. On the side of the toolbox, we got lots of magnetic stuff. We got a magnetic digital angle finder, analog angle finder, a magnetic level. Here's the fans from Project D350 that I probably won't be using those fans again, but maybe, maybe not. Hiding back here, these are awesome. These are something that I should have known about a long time ago. These are center punches. There's a bunch of different sizes. These will fit inside a hole and find the exact center of that hole. I just got these not all that long ago and I use them a lot. Highly recommended. Moving on to my hoard, I recently got these metal shelves. I don't know about recently, probably several years ago. This looks gnarly, but this is much more organized than it used to be. This whole shelf is parts for a project that I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit that I call the Mini Mini. That's a super fun one that's going to be starting really soon. This shelf is parts left over from Project D350 that I took apart, as well as this bottom shelf right here. There's a lot of in parts, engine management, wire, harness, and stuff like that, all for that truck. None of that stuff is going to be used again. Not on that truck project anyways. As we walk by the Mighty Max, we can take a look at how far it's come so far. Things are really picking up speed on that one. I'm getting really excited. Mostly because as soon as this truck pulls out of the garage, my project starts up. I cannot even explain how excited I am about that one. Here's a fairly recent acquisition that has really cleaned up the shop. Got a new nuts and bolts bin, as well as some parts drawers. I am a hoarder, so stuff used to just be strewn around in the garage everywhere, making it even worse than it is now. Now I can hoard stuff and I can actually find it when I need it. Let's see what some of the silly stuff I have in here. This drawer is full of rubber donuts and bushings and radiator mounts and motorcycle handlebar brackets. Anybody need any of those? I got some. My air fittings drawer. Can't wait to use those on the Mighty Max soon. My bushings drawer. Anything from polyurethane to bronze to just metal bushings. And a whole drawer full of feet. Random feet that I've taken off of stools and other things. Random knobs. This is a hoarder's dream in here. Any kind of random stupid thing you need, like cabinet handles, we got them in here somewhere. If I could just learn to not hoard so much, it would look a hell of a lot better in here. I think what I really need is just a bigger shop so I can continue hoarding and fill that place with a bunch of shit. And the nuts and bolts bin. I recently decided to start getting professional, and rather than just saving all the old nuts and bolts, I've been throwing them away and buying brand new stuff. I think that's when you know you've made it, is when you start purchasing brand new nuts and bolts. I haven't made it yet, but that's something that I'm super proud of. This door leads to my living room, where the magic happens. And by that I mean this is where hours and hours of fabrication footage becomes the 15 to 30 minute videos that you see. Because I don't think you really want to see hours and hours of grinding on the same piece of metal. Behind the editing workstation is where more magic happens. This is my upholstery station. I bet you didn't realize that I did upholstery. That's because I don't. I try to do upholstery and I'm getting better. Here's some sample swatches that I've been working on, trying to learn how to do different stitching patterns. If you care, this is a FAF 545 industrial sewing machine on top of a table that I custom built, which is on top of an old-timey treadle sewing machine. This pedal is connected to an electric motor that runs the FAF 545. I'm super proud of that one. Let's go to the backyard that I actually call the junkyard. My wife loves the backyard right now. These doors lead to the junkyard. I'm actually kind of excited about this, even though I'm super embarrassed of my backyard. I've got a couple projects back here that I will be starting soon that I haven't officially announced. So now I get to kind of unofficially announce them. My backyard is the graveyard for the other part of what's left of Project D350, which is the cab. It's getting windy. When I created this truck, I squeezed in a 1988 Chevy TPI V8 engine. And in order to do that, I had to widen the entire truck. I had to widen the frame and I widened the cab by welding two cabs together. If you look inside, you can see a seam right in the middle in the two different colors, as well as a spot for two dome lights. That's because when I cut the cabs in half, I cut each cab 2 inches off center and then welded the two larger halves together to get a total of 4 inches wider. Because I cut the cabs in half and used the two larger halves, I was left with two smaller halves. And because I'm ridiculous, I thought it would be funny if I welded the two smaller halves together. This is an upcoming project that I call the Mini Mini. So this is still the 1986 Dodge D50 cab welded together on top of a four-wheeler frame. I created my own swing arm, and the four-wheeler front end is in the front. I have changed the design on this so many times. I was just going to use the four-wheeler frame and powertrain, and then I didn't like the motor. It was too slow, so then I bought a Suzuki SV650 street bike to steal the motor out of, which is hiding right here. Another project is using these giant tires. I'll put myself in here for this. These wheels are off of an old military vehicle. The plan for these is a vehicle that I'm gonna call Flippy. When I was a kid, I had a remote control car that could flip over and the wheels were so big that it could just continue driving. It's unstoppable. I want to create that in a life-size version, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cockpit that rotates. So when the vehicle flips over, the driver is always right side up. But let's talk a little bit more about the resurrection of Project D350. All right, on the side of the house, we have a 2008 Chevy Impala SS. This Impala has the LS4 V8 engine and it's front wheel drive. This car is an engine donor for the resurrection of Project D350. Yes, I said an engine donor because on the street we have a 2007 Chevy Impala SS with the LS4 V8 engine that is also front wheel drive. This is also an engine donor for Project D350. If you haven't put LS4 and LS4 together, yes, the new truck is going to have two engines, all-wheel drive, and four-wheel steering. Since it's so far in the future, I don't really want to make a big fuss about it until the project is actually starting. I wish it was now, but it's not. A few of you have asked about the Mustang. The Mustang is dead. I blew a head gasket a couple months ago. I am not a Ford guy, I'm a Toyota guy, if you don't know that already. I can probably figure out how to change the head gasket on the Mustang. I just really don't want to, so I'm actually going to find somebody here in Vegas that knows how to do that kind of stuff, and I will just pay somebody else to do it because I don't have time to learn how to do a head gasket on a Ford while still making YouTube videos and working a full-time day job. So I think that's the end of our tour. I hope you enjoyed. We'll be getting back on the Mighty Max shortly as soon as I get some metal for the lower control arms. So until then, my friends, keep moving forward.